All right, here we go. All right, so very good morning to you all. My name is Simon Thompson, and welcome to this very special webinar together with Rio Community Health Center. And so today we're going to take you through quite an interesting presentation, I think. We're going to show you a little bit about Cisco Meraki, and then we're going to go and have a look at the Rio deployment and really get into a real-world example of what it's like for the customer to work with Meraki. What are the pros, what are the cons, and let's try to understand exactly what the experience is like. So my name is Simon Thompson. I'm the Cloud Networking Technical Evangelist here at Cisco Meraki, speaking to you today from a rather gloomy San Francisco, a little bit unusual today, but we'll get the sun back soon, I'm sure. I hope it's nice where you are, not too cold. So let's move into the agenda. So starting off with introduction to Cisco Meraki, we'd like to make sure you understand who we are and how we got to where we are today. We're then going to ask what are the benefits of cloud networking, because as you're going to find out, we do have quite a different, fresh approach to managing a data network. The experience of working with Meraki day to day really quite different to what you may have been used to in the past. And then, of course, the main focus for today is the study with Rio. So we've got guests on from Rio today, and we'll obviously introduce them at some point and get them to talk about their network, and we'll have a look at it as well, because with the power of the cloud, we have the ability, with the customer's permission, to have a look at their management experience, and we can share that with you today. So we will finish things up at the end with a look at the product families and a question and answer session. I am joined today in the room by my trusty colleague Kat, and she's very excited at the prospect of answering your questions as they come in. Over on the right-hand side of your screen, you will find a tool which you can use to ask a question at any time during the next hour, so there's no need to wait for that Q&A section. If anything I say or our guests say today prompts a question in your mind, please just tap away using that tool. We'll get that question answered for you as quickly as we can, and we'll share some of the interesting questions towards the end of the hour. Now, I'm very happy to announce that for IT professionals who are joining us for the first time today, you'll qualify for a free Cisco Meraki 802.11n access point. And this comes together with a 3-year cloud management license. This is a great opportunity for you to get your hands on some of our hardware, but even more importantly than that, it's a chance for you to try out the Meraki dashboard for yourselves. As you're going to find out, we do have quite a different and fresh approach to managing a data network, and really the best way to experience that is to just put it into your own network in your own time and see how it works out for you. And we're really keen to do that, which is why we make this offer to you. Now, we do have some eligibility details for this offer, and you can find those on our website at meraki.cisco.com/free-AP. Now, we just ask that you please give us a call to confirm your shipping information. We obviously want to make sure we get that access point sent to the correct address. You'll find contact details for how to reach out to us in the reminder email that you received for joining today's webinar. Alternatively, if you have a look at our website, you'll find contact details there. All right, so let's get into history of Cisco Meraki. So what we offer to the marketplace is a complete 100% cloud-managed networking solution. And this really is everything that you need to build a local area network. It comprises wireless, switching, security appliances, and mobile device management software. And all of this is centrally managed over the web from your web browser. Now, our solution has been built from the ground up for cloud management. It has not been adapted to work in the cloud, as cloud has become the most overhyped term in the history of IT. This really does have true meaning for us. We've actually been operating in this way since our business began back in 2006. So Meraki was actually founded out of a research project that our founders undertook whilst they were at MIT, and this is in the early 2000s. And that project was called RoofNet. If you're interested, you can look that up on Google. You'll soon find details. The RoofNet project is all about creating an easy-to-manage mesh wireless deployment in the Cambridge, Massachusetts area. So our founders created some kits with basic Wi-Fi capability and deployed these to the rooftops in the Cambridge, Massachusetts area. And after that, what they focused on really was the management experience. So obviously very cold there at this time of year, as you can imagine. So they wanted to centralize the management, and this is really where the beginnings of the cloud-managed approach started from. So the solution, as I said, is a complete cloud management one. It is a tight integration between the hardware and the software and the cloud services that run all of this. And Meraki really, because we started with this technology, we are really the leader in cloud managed networking. And we have been since before our acquisition by Cisco, which happened back in 2012. So we have tens of thousands of customers across multiple industries with over triple-digit annual growth, really strong growth period for us because we really are right in the driving seat of this technology. What we're finding is that other vendors who were previously very skeptical about the cloud approach are now starting to copy this approach in droves. So even before the acquisition by Cisco, we were recognized by our innovation by the Gartner Magic Quadrant, for example. We also won the InfoWorld Technology of the Year award in 2012. That's an award that's previously been given products like the iPhone, the iPad, so we're in really good company there. And you can see some of the customers we've been associated with in the past, some really big names. We've got lots more of these on our website, so if you are interested in a particular vertical, a particular area of business, then do please log on to our website at meraki.cisco.com/customers. So what we're doing here is bringing the convenience of cloud to the world of data networking. Today we're all used to using cloud services in our personal lives. We do this quite readily. So everybody I ask now does their email using some kind of webmail service, Gmail, Yahoo Mail, and so on. And of course, most people are also quite happy to do their banking online as well. And this is because the convenience it gives you to be able to access your information wherever you happen to be. And it's that same kind of experience that you can now do with data network management using the Meraki approach. And our management tool is completely graphical user interface. There's no cryptic command line to learn here. You still need to understand your basic networking principles. Once you have those in the bag, then you're going to be very comfortable working with the Meraki interface. The equipment is not designed to be managed locally. It does have just a very basic local interface which will let you configure what you need to get connected to the internet, so a static IP address or a proxy address perhaps. But really everything else is designed to be done centrally over your web browser. And really this is all about solving new IT challenges because the network that we have to deal with today is far more rich and complex and dynamic than it was, say, 10, 15 years ago. This is really because we now have literally billions of devices connecting to the internet and a large number of business applications which are quite media rich, which are also increasingly taking up bandwidth. Think of all of the apps that are running on all your devices, and most of those apps are communicating over the network in some way, even if it's only for a software update. So this is a changing world. We've got new devices every day, new applications every day. So the IT network administrator needs to have a nice simple management interface to make it actually usable on a day-to-day basis to ensure that the network is running smoothly, to make tweaks where they're needed. And we'll look at some of those a little bit later on. As far as the networking architecture is concerned, it looks a little bit like this. You, as a network administrator, connect through your web browser, and you connect to one of our cloud servers. Now, we have a number of data centers here in North America, right across the world as well, and you are typically connected to the server that's most geographically local to yourself. Also connected to those servers is the Meraki equipment. And so you don't directly connect to the equipment, it's connected via the cloud. So what you can see if you look at the equipment in the lower left corner there, there's a dotted blue link between the equipment and the cloud. It's management data. So this is a very low bandwidth, out-of-band connection that we use for sending configuration information down to Meraki devices, but also retrieving monitoring information about how the network's being used in the opposite direction. So this makes for a very efficient model. It scales very, very efficiently, and it also enables you to manage multiple locations with considerable ease. As taking this just a little step further, if we look at the diagram on the left side, you can see that we've got that red line. It's labeled WAN. Normally, I would change that out for user traffic. I think that makes a little bit more sense here. What we're trying to show you is that the information that you put onto a Meraki network goes directly to wherever its destination happens to be. So it does not pass through our cloud, and that's a really, really important point to get home. Obviously, that would not be a very scalable solution if we tried to take all that data into the cloud. What we are interested in is just that management data, the ability to configure and monitor the Meraki equipment itself. So all that equipment is persistently connected to the cloud, but because we actually synchronize the configuration down to the Meraki hardware itself, if you are unlucky enough to be disconnected from the cloud, you'll still be able to operate your local area network just exactly the same as though you were connected. So as I said earlier, this does scale very effectively. We have customers running literally thousands of devices within a single network, and we can also deploy very quickly because the hardware does not actually need to be taken out of its box and pre-staged on a desk, as has been the case in the past. Nowadays, all you need is the serial number. You can log on to the dashboard, you can begin to configure against that serial number, and then when that piece of equipment connects to the cloud, it will then suck down the configuration that you've given it. So this makes a very rapid rollout extremely feasible with the Meraki way of doing things. So our customers don't need to take our word for it around security because we have achieved some very important standards. We will certainly be touching on these with El Rio today. So for example, we are fully HIPAA compliant and also PCI compliant to level 1, which is the most stringent level of PCI compliance. And obviously we perform regular audits and testing of our data centers to ensure maximum reliability for those. You can find a really good page with a lot of detail here about our architecture and the standards that we've achieved to give you reassurance around this model on our website at meraki.cisco.com/trust. Now, when a customer makes a purchase with Meraki, they are really buying into a future-proof solution. As far as the hardware can take it, we will continue to add new features throughout the lifetime of that product. And with Meraki, one of the things you'll notice that's a little different is the speed of innovation. So we're a relatively small team within the very large Cisco family, and this size enables us to iterate very quickly. We're able to implement new features and functionality seemingly on a weekly basis. And if you subscribe to our blog, you will be able to see those updates happening regularly. And obviously, a lot of these are developed in response to customer feedback. So we put the products out into the market with the appropriate set of features for the industry they're going into, but then we listen to feedback and we iterate the product over its life cycle to ensure that it is as useful to you as possible. All right, so at this point, I'd like to introduce our guests from El Rio Community Health Center, and this is where we're going to start getting into a real customer example so that we can understand how Meraki works in the real world. So, gentlemen, if you would like to introduce yourselves, then we can get things rolling.
Hi, I'm Todd Ports. I'm the technology manager for El Rio Community Health Center. I manage the network and server environments.
Thank you, Todd. Is it just yourself?
No, we should have Cody and Mark on here as well.
Okay. So we've got Cody and Mark as well joining us today. Oh, great. Okay. So let's have a look at El Rio Community Health Center. Would you like to just give us a little overview about the health center and what you do, about the nature of your distributed network and so on? It'd be really interesting.
Yep. So we have 14 locations across the city of Tucson. We also, from an IT perspective, manage 4 other community health centers across the state of Arizona, and we also expand the Meraki presence to those other community health centers as well. We have a 100 meg fiber between each site. We have a gig internet link. We have a data center located in Tucson. We do replication across several devices at the Meraki, plugged into the Meraki.
Okay, so this is a pretty well distributed
real quick,
network. Sorry, carry on.
Mark and I our mute buttons weren't letting us come off, but
yeah.
sorry, we weren't able to say anything earlier. But yeah, I'm Cody Duffy. I'm one of the network engineers here.
And I'm Mark Wayman. I'm Mark Wayman, Network Technician 3 as well.
That's great. Thank you very much indeed for joining us. It looks like you do have a pretty well distributed network, which I'm sure creates a few challenges for you. What was it like working with your previous network experience before we went with Meraki?
Oh, well, it's nice. I mean, before we were mainly working with Cisco 2960s on our access layer, so everything was on the command line, which was for the most part if it's me or Mark or Todd working on it. But if we have like a workstation technician or someone coming in that's going to replace a printer and put in a computer or something else in that spot, and he needs to change a VLAN, all those requests were coming up to us to make simple VLAN changes all over the place. So moving over to the Meraki, we could tag those ports as, say, like a workstation port, and then we can train up our workstation to come in where they only have access to change those ports, and they can start making simple VLAN changes and do other things that wouldn't have been possible on a command line with the 2960.
Very nice. Yeah, I think the graphical user interface tends to be one of the more popular aspects of our approach. I think the management experience is just really quite different. Let's have a look at your key networking needs. So, would you like to walk us through these?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, so we're using the Z1s for our home workers, because one of the biggest things here, we've got teleworkers, nurse teleworkers that work out of their homes, so we don't have to use up as much office space here. So we wanted a solution that would be easy to deploy to their homes. So that was a huge thing there, with the ability to extend office resources to home workers. So we can just give them a Z1, a workstation tech, go out to their home, give us a serial number, we can pre-configure it, and they pretty much just have to plug it in, and we'll have their phones and computer and everything already set up in the right networks and right VLAN. So as soon as they get there, they're pretty much ready to go out of the box.
That's really nice. So the Z1 is one of our, well, it's our baby security appliance, which is really very much suited towards teleworker deployments, just exactly as you're describing. So this sounds like exactly the sweet spot for this product.
Yeah, and that's really what brought us into the Meraki world, was the Z1. We were just looking for that simple home worker solution. We had, I think we had some Cisco 880s before that, and the Z1 was just so much easier to configure, and you're able to do it without the device ever being plugged in. And then for them to just go out and plug it in, it's been real nice.
And what kind of services are they running over that Z1? Is it a VPN connection back to the main site, or are they using IP phones or anything like that?
Yeah, they do use IP phones, and we do take advantage of the Meraki site-to-site VPN tunnel. So we've got one of your Meraki MX400s as our VPN hub, and then all the Z1s connect back to that. And we have those, the hub is working with, I guess it's actually two MX400s working in a pair, just to provide some extra availability.
Oh, very nice. Okay. Could you just say a word about the note at the bottom there? So a note about previous solution too complicated and not meeting the bandwidth management needs. Quite interesting to know about the bandwidth side of things.
That might have been on our, well, we had a, let's see, yeah, we're using an ASA before that didn't go up to a gig. So that bandwidth port was probably just about us going to the MX600 and having the 1 gig link there. So when we go up to our 1 gig internet connection, we'll be able to take advantage of that. And then also the complication stuff. I mean, it's been real easy to set everything up on the GUI, on the cloud GUI.
You're making me jealous with all this talk of a 1 gig internet connection. Very nice. Okay, so let's take a look at Meraki specifically in a healthcare environment. I think these are really interesting points, of course. HIPAA compliance is fundamental to doing business in anything to do with that industry. So I've no doubt that you wanted to know about those sort of things relatively early on. Are there any points you'd like to bring out on this slide?
I mean, I could bring up the guest wireless here. Using the Meraki access points made it real easy to set up a wireless network that was separate from our enterprise network, so we could offer guest wireless services real easily. Okay, so we can take a look at that when we get into the demo piece shortly. All right, so let's have a look at the deployment process. So I'm very interested to learn what your experience was like deploying Meraki for the first time
how you actually went through the process, getting things pre-staged and so on. Can you just walk us through that a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we did have to do pre-staging with too many of the devices. Pretty much all we would do, I mean, we go through the boxes, the serial numbers are written on the outside. So we'd create our network on the dashboard, add those serial numbers to the network, and then we'd start configuring up everything we needed to do without even having to take them out of the box. So then when they actually got out to the site, you know, they would just unbox the device, plug it in, and then it would download its updates and its configuration, and then they were pretty much ready to go.
Yeah, that's fantastic. So this is a really key point. We have an example. We have several examples, but I can think of a retail environment in the UK where they have 550 stores. They wanted to do a wireless deployment to all those stores as quickly as they could, and they used the same kind of approach that you're describing to get that Wi-Fi deployed within a 6-week time frame, which is actually quite an achievement. It's not pretty hard to do with traditional network gear, for sure. Okay, so let's have a look at the actual product. So we talked about the wireless and the guest. So would you like to walk us through the type of configurations you're doing on the switches and the security appliances?
Yeah, sure. On the switches, we've got different VLANs for printers, desktop computers. We've got, you know, guest wireless VLAN, our corporate VLAN. Let's see if we've got like HVAC appliances. Those usually are in some kind of like a maintenance VLAN. So what we've been doing with those, once we set them up, you know, we'll set the VLAN up and everything. We'll usually, you know, put the description in there, and then we'll usually set a tag. So we'll set the workstation tag if we just want those ports to be able to be configured by workstation techs, so they can come in and change, you know, a printer or you know, any other kind of VLAN that would be accessed in the normal work environment.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, so that's been real nice. We have been taking advantage of the packet capture feature. You know, we don't have to go through and do a port mirror or try to do an RSPAN sesh or anything like that. You know, just clicking that button and being able to see that is pretty great. On the let's see, on the firewalls, you know, those guys were just logging in locally, setting up a static IP, and then once they come on, we'll just go through and set up all our config and everything on there. Really, we're just using site-to-site VPN tunnels,
Mm-hmm.
One-to-one NATs, and one-to-many NAT, and it's a basic firewall rules. That's really about it.
That's great. There are a couple of really fantastic features on here which we'll have a quick look at during the demo. I think could be worth it. So the packet capture one is one of my favorites. Those of you who are network administrators yourselves, you'll know that normally to do a packet capture, you've got to actually be there, as it says on the slide here. You've got to actually be physically present with the switch. You've got to create a port mirror or plug in a hub or something like that so that you can capture that traffic. With the Meraki solution, we're actually able to do this remotely via the cloud. This is a hugely powerful example of where cloud gives you some significant advantage from managing a multi-site environment without having to have an IT presence at each one of those locations. On the UTM side of things, the Unified Threat Management, that's the security appliance. VPN is one of our favorite features. I've personally have never seen a better implementation of VPNs. You can just have those set up literally within seconds and have your sites connected between each other. There's also mention on the screen there of the SourceFire intrusion detection and prevention. SourceFire was also acquired by Cisco, so we were already working with them before that acquisition, so it's quite fortuitous, really. But that has given us a really powerful solution here. There was an outbreak approximately a year ago now called Heartbleed, which we were able to protect all of our customers from within 24 hours of it being announced, because of the SourceFire databases being updated. and those rules then being pushed out automatically to our customers. No need to do a firmware update for that to take effect. And this is the beauty of centralized cloud management. So some really nice points there. Systems manager. So this is a great one. Rather than talking about network administration now and looking after the actual infrastructure, MDM is really about looking after the endpoints that we manage. So can you just give us a quick walkthrough of your MDM deployment?
Yeah, we have someone else here that does. Yeah, actually, if you want to do that, because I don't work with MDM too much.
So we basically use MDM to require a PIN lock on the devices. Really simple to install, simple to set up. The best part about the System Manager version that we're using is it's free, where a lot of other companies charge you, $10 to $20 a device to actually manage. So we do PIN locks. We're going to be exploring auto VPN configurations. We sync our mail server settings to the users, which has been really friendly when we've been migrating from an on-premise Exchange to Office 365. Rather than have the users walk the users through making a configuration change, we can just make the configuration change inside System Manager, change the profile, adjust the tag, and then it pushes out to the client.
Nice. So that's really nice. A typical implementation for MDM, just being able to sort of take control and make config changes that apply and across multiple devices simultaneously just saves so much time. So that's a perfect example, I think. And we'll have a quick look at that as well if we get time during our quick presentation. The access points. So this looks like you have, as I think this was mentioned earlier on, multiple SSIDs there. Anything in particular interest around the Wi-Fi deployment and how your staff and visitors can make use of that?
Yeah, I mean, like I said earlier, the guest wireless has been real easy to set up. So it's probably been the biggest change. Just having a real simple way to set up, well, actually, really any of your wireless needs here. I mean, before we had to set up a wireless LAN controller at every site, or we'd have to centralize it, at some other site, and then would have to go over the WAN to communicate back with the WLC. Now all that's controlled in the cloud, and makes it real easy to just plug these guys in and get them going.
And from the company perspective, we really like that we could enable guest wireless Wi-Fi for our patients. So if there is any wait, they can at least join the Wi-Fi and keep themselves entertained while they're waiting to be seen. Or for the birthing center, which actually does live births, they can share family photos over the guest Wi-Fi.
That's really nice. Yeah, there's nothing like guest Wi-Fi when you go to places, especially if it's somewhere that you don't want to be hanging around too long. It's really nice to have some tools to enable you to connect to the outside world and share stuff as you're describing. I notice on there you say that you've throttled the access on there. Is that just the overall bandwidth limit for the guests, or any particular applications?
That was overall bandwidth for the guest wireless.
Okay.
So they're not taking, because all of our internet traffic, we've got like 100 meg Mo links that all go back to our data center, and our internet goes out there, so we can filter from one location. So we didn't want anyone coming on our guest wireless and consuming all of our bandwidth. So we just did a per client throttle with that.
Nice. Okay, very nice. So no personal devices on the internal network. So you control that with some kind of authentication on the staff network? So you're using a Radius server there. So clients can't get regular clients. They would have to connect through guest if they were not business sanctioned devices, effectively.
Yeah, that's correct.
Okay. All right, sounds good. So really, I mean, this is a lot of this discussion is about some of the advantages of cloud-based management. I'm really interested to hear in your words what you think about that experience. We obviously have our own way of describing it, but I'm always very interested to hear how our customers interpret it, how it's changed their relationship with their network. If you'd like to just give us a few comments on that one.
Yeah. So I mean, before we were using we still use SolarWinds for all of our our reporting for our Cisco devices. But the Meraki dashboard does a real good job doing that as well. I mean, we get our alerts when our devices go down, if the port's down for over a certain amount of time, if it's an important port. You know, we get alerts on that. If our wireless LAN control, or not LAN controller, but if our wireless access points, you know, drop off our network, I mean, we get alerts for all that stuff, and it's been real nice working with that.
Perfect. Okay, so what we'll do now is we'll fire up the Meraki dashboard and have a look at the user experience. What I'll do is I'll just take us into the El Rio dashboard, and we'll have a look at some of the configs on there, some of the things that we've discussed during this. So just bear with me for a moment because I need to just get the appropriate link up for that network. Okay, so first things first, we need to get signed in. So got the link here somewhere. Please forgive my my screen, but here's the link I need. Okay, so this is a regular dashboard, sorry, a regular web browser that we're using here. It's just an ordinary Chrome browser. You've used the browser of your choice, and we do also support two-factor authentication for this login because it's obviously a really important one. But what we're doing now is we're just going to jump into the Rio network. So what I'll do is I'll go to the organization overview. And gentlemen, feel free to jump in at any time if there's any particular area that you think would be of interest, and we'll focus in on that. Otherwise, I'll just take us through some of the common areas that people like to see.
Okay. I mean, you can just hop through. Go ahead.
We definitely like the overview when you zoom in on the city of Tucson, where you can see all the devices spread out through the network.
Yeah, so here we are. We can see Tucson here. It looks like we've got, I'm guessing that these are teleworkers out at these various other sites. Is that correct?
That's actually some of the other community health centers we support.
Oh, I see. Okay. So you've sort of federated some of the services there. So yeah, you can just jump in on any one of these icons. You can use this to zoom in. So this looks very much like the screen grab we saw earlier on. It looks like we generally have healthy setup and one home worker that's not currently connected or has some kind of a small issue there. So this is really nice because, as you can see, this is integration with Google Maps built right in here. So we can easily jump around either the city, the state, the entire country, or the entire world and see our networks and zoom in on the parts that we really want to focus on. So we've got the details of all of the networks here, and one of the things I really like about the Meraki implementation is this network health bar here. And I like this because it really gives you at a glance view over the past week. You can see how many clients have been connected across this entire network and how much traffic has been transferred. As you can see, this is a very busy network, 8.5 terabytes of data across this entire network infrastructure. And we can see at a glance what's happened over, really what's happened over the past week in terms of connectivity. So this is what I call the connectivity bar, and we can see that there have been a couple of cases where a device has been offline, maybe it was rebooted, or perhaps there was a power outage or something like that, which could explain what actually happened in that particular case. But the beauty of that is that if you're troubleshooting something retrospectively, perhaps somebody raised a ticket or sent you an email saying we were having problems with the network at this time, you can go back and check very easily at a glance. So the way things are aligned here, we actually have all of the different networks under the control of this IT group here. So you can see all the El Rio centers and the home workers here. So we can jump to any one of these from this particular point. So what we'll do, gentlemen, would you like to suggest a particularly good site, perhaps the main site that we should jump into?
Start with El Rio Site Congress.
Okay, so let's have a look here.
I think yeah, there you go.
Quick search, and here we go. So when we first go into a specific network, and by the way, a network in Meraki terms is simply a collection of devices, and they can be multiple devices, as we can see here, or they can be just an individual type of device. So it could be a collection of APs, it could be a collection of APs and switches. It's really just a logical grouping that we can create here, which gives us a simple view of a particular site or floor or building, that sort of thing. So here we're looking at information for the past week for this particular location, and 1.5 terabytes of traffic here as well, so also a very busy network. And we've seen 620 unique client devices in the past week. And this will be a combination of wired and wireless. So we can actually see there are wired clients here, and there's a wireless client. So it's a really easy view to work with. And we can change this. So if we want to, we could just look at the access point clients, just the wireless clients who we've seen in the past week. So we're just looking at that list now. That's 662 client devices. It's still quite a high number. And we can see information here about these devices, IP addresses, what type of operating system it is, and so on. And one of the things I like about this is we can actually move this, change this interface to look just the way we like it. We can sort by any one of these columns, and if we have a big enough screen, we can go in and play with all these different options here and add and remove columns as we wish from the network. Now, if we wanted to, we could do a search for specific client types. So the search tools within the dashboard are very powerful, and these are what enable us to scale. Briefly earlier on, we talked about putting tags onto devices, and that enables you to logically group those together. But we can also use search to look for specific device types in our network. So if I do search for iPad, I can see that we've had 23 iPads out of the total on this wireless network at this site in the past week. And this works for operating systems as well. So if I type in Windows, I can see there 48 of those. And if you look at the graph, it's actually dynamically changing as I do these searches. So this yucky yellow color here is showing us the volume of Windows traffic as a proportion of the total in the blue. Up in the top right-hand corner of the screen, we have an applications pie chart, which is showing us the different types of applications that are running on our network. One of the things which is very powerful with the Meraki approach is the Layer 7 application visibility, which lets us see exactly what's going on in our network and how bandwidth is being used. So if I tap onto this, I can see here in a nice human-readable form what are the applications that are consuming my bandwidth. And I can tell you from experience that this is a very typical list. Pretty much any network you choose to look at, you're going to see high bandwidth applications towards the top. So video, music streaming services. In our own office, for example, we have a lot of people who like to listen to music while they're working, and today that means, in many cases, just streaming music from services like Spotify. So of course, this does contribute quite a bit to the network traffic. The key point here is that you need to, you want to be keeping an eye on how that's impacting your overall bandwidth utilization. So let's say that in your own environment, perhaps you didn't have the wonderfully large amounts of bandwidth that the Rio Community Center has at its fingertips. Don't have that gig connection to the internet. Well, perhaps you may be concerned about the volume of, let's say, YouTube traffic that you're seeing. So what you can do is just tap on the word YouTube, and it's going to take you in, show you the clients that are contributing to that YouTube traffic. So we have an Android device here, which is contributing, it's not too much bandwidth really, only 24 megs of traffic, but it is a large proportion. So the logical step to take next would be to actually then have a look at that client and then try and get some information about it. Now, one of the things I want to point out here is, again, our integration with Google Maps. It's really powerful because, as we can see here, you can actually upload your own floor plan, and then once you've done that, you can just plot your APs onto that map, and then you'll be able to triangulate the location of a client within a particular floor plan. So I'm not sure which, here we go, we've found them. So it looks like we may, let's have a look, yeah, we may need to, we've maybe got outdoor AP, that's what I'm going to blame that on. There's an outdoor AP, so they're a little bit, removed from the floor plan itself. Key point here, I guess, is that you can see the floor plan capability here. You can plot the APs, and once you've done that, if the client's online, you would actually be able to triangulate the location of that client within that physical space. So that's really nice. And if the client was online right now, we would be able to see the signal strength that they were experiencing. So you know if they've got a good, healthy connection. You can see the device type they're using. You can see the capabilities of that. So this was an 82.11 device. It's not actually connected right now, but you can see when it was last connected. We can also see which AP it was connected to, and all of these are hyperlinks. And there we go. We've got a packet capture tool as well, built right into the dashboard here, so you can jump right in and have a look at it. Now what I'll do just quickly here is just show you the topology view, because this is a really nice way of quickly seeing what your network looks like. Network engineers all over around the world spend lots of time creating network diagrams to share with each other. The problem with those is that they're out of date almost as soon as you've created them, so you'll start all over again. What we've done here is we've created a live topology map tool. This is built using discovery protocols that enable us to see how our network is actually all connected together. So we can see, here's the AP that we're looking at right now. We can see which switch it's connected to, and notice there are hyperlinks everywhere. So I can easily jump around this interface to get to the points in the network that I wanted to focus on. So just going back to that client view, let's imagine that you wanted to do something about this particular client. Perhaps you're not happy about the way that the network's being used. The answer to that problem normally is applying some kind of a policy. Now, if you're a particularly mean network administrator, you could go in and simply block them from the network straight away. I can send them a message like CIT, and that would appear as a pop-up on their device, and they wouldn't be going any further on the network until they'd had that removed. The policies are quite straightforward to create. Let me just quickly show you how that's done. So if we want to create a group policy, we can apply these based on a user's network identity. So Rio's using an Active Directory server, so you could absolutely do it using Active Directory credentials or an Active Directory group. Those can be imported and used for this purpose. You can also do it based on the time of day, so you can create a schedule for your policy. Or you could do it based on a device type, so you could create a rule for Android devices, for example. And creating one of these is very straightforward, so we'll just have a quick look at doing this. We just tap on a template here, and let's say that our employees work a little bit late on a Wednesday, so we push the template out to a later time on a Wednesday evening, and then you've got the bandwidth controls here. So this is very similar to what El Rio's done with the guest network. We'll take a look at that in just a moment. You can set bandwidth restrictions here, and it's as easy as moving this slider up and down. As you can see, you just simply create this sort of rule, just by moving this up and down, and then all users who are captured by this policy will experience that level of bandwidth. So I'll come back to the other settings in just a moment. Let's jump to the Wi-Fi network and have a look at the configuration there. And guys, feel free to jump in at any point if there's anything you'd like me to highlight.
Okay.
So here is CONAP is the employee network. Is that correct?
That's right. Yeah. Okay.
So we have connection here to Radius server, which is which will be the Active Directory server. For those of you who are maybe a little small, or you don't have your own Radius server, or you don't want to deploy one, we do actually have the option for authenticating users using a simple user and password database, which we can maintain in the cloud, so users can authenticate against that without the need for a server. A lot of our customers do like to have their own Radius server. If there was any problem with connectivity to the cloud, the beauty then is that you can still authenticate new users and get them connected through the Meraki hardware, even if the cloud is unavailable for any reason. So here we can see the details of the Radius server here, configuration. You've actually got a test tool here which enables you to establish that you have a healthy connection between your access points and your Radius server, so that's really useful for troubleshooting, and then so on as we go down the page. Now this corporate network is connected into a larger wired network, and so consequently services like DHCP are being provided by another device in the network, I suspect by the MX appliance.
In this case, we're doing it off of one of our domain controllers, so Windows domain controller.
Cool. Okay, so that's fine. So that's obviously a Microsoft option, and the security appliances have a DHCP server built into them as well. In fact, some of our switches do as well now. So there are plenty of options for setting up DHCP. Now what we're doing here is we're tagging all traffic that's going onto this network onto VLAN 50. So that ensures then that traffic is kept separate from any other potential traffic that might be traveling down the same wires. So that helps to keep things secure. Now this looks like an interesting configuration. You've got a 5 gig band only for employees. That's an interesting choice. So how do you ensure that all of your devices are all supporting 5 gig band? Do you actually maintain management of all of those devices?
Yeah, we maintain a management of all the devices that are on our wireless network.
Very nice. Yeah, so the beauty of doing this is that 5 gig band is much less congested than the 2.4 gigahertz band, which is the one most people use regularly. And so this is a really great configuration. If you can cover all of your clients with this, you're going to get a better experience on your Wi-Fi with this setup for sure. So let's have a quick look at the guest SSID. So in this case, we have a simple open connection, but it gets you to a splash page. So your device will be able to connect to the network and get an IP address, but it will then be shown a splash page. In this case, it's a click-through, which I'm guessing just says something like, welcome to El Rio, please use our network wisely, something like that. Does that sound about right?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is a nice friendly message you can put on there, but there are many different options for splash pages. So we can, if you wanted to start charging people, then you could use billing here. You've got the ability to sign on using various different approaches through a splash page. One of my favorites is Facebook Wi-Fi. You can actually require clients to check into a Facebook page in order to get that free Wi-Fi access. So it's quite a nice way of getting some engagement perhaps with the people who are visiting your organization. So once again, we are bridging here and tagging to a different VLAN. So is this a DMZ connection straight out to the internet? How do you handle that one?
Yeah, we're I think it's actually on this page. We're able to block it from accessing anything else on the network.
Right.
Scroll up a little bit because we didn't have to do anything with it, which was actually
yes, you
nice.
have a walled garden range here. Yeah. Okay, very nice. So that enables you to contain the network to a specific range, which is absolutely ideal. Now, in this case, we're on a 2.4 gig band only. This is a really nice way of doing it. So, so the guests are all on one technology, and the staff are all on a completely different one. So they'll be getting a different kind of experience. That seems like a really good way of doing it. Okay, if we jump across to the switches, how are we doing for time? Oh, we are starting to run a little short on time. So I'll just do this fairly quickly. So we have 22 switches here in the list. Once again, you've got those connectivity bars. You can see the little red marks here where we had a little interruption, and if you hover your mouse over those, you can actually see when that problem occurred. So that's like really handy. And again, sometimes you can see this across multiple ones. You know those maybe are all connected to the same aggregation switch next level up in your network. That's really handy for going and troubleshooting those. So if we look at the one of the switches, I've just jumped into one at random. We can see that this switch has a mix of 10100 connections and gig connections, and that's represented by the slightly different shades of green there. And you can also see that some of these ports are providing power, so these will be probably IP phones or perhaps access points. And we can see, because this is a PoE switch, we can see what the level of power consumption is that switch is using. I'll just show you really quickly one of the fun tools that's built into the Meraki dashboard. This enables you to actually do a cable test, another very useful one for remote management. So I'm going to do a test on port 33, which is running at a gig, so we won't cause it any interruption. And what this is going to do, it's a couple of things. First, it's going to check the integrity of that connection. It's going to check the integrity of the 4 pairs within your cable, and it's also going to do a resistance test so you can get an idea of the approximate length of that cable. So in this case, we're well within spec at 57 meters, so we should be getting a good, healthy, wired connection on that port. Now, where would I find one of the security appliances? Which network would one of those be?
You're right next to it, El Rio Edge Security Simply Bits. That's our MX600s.
Okay.
Yep, right there.
All right, so the security appliance is really the device that protects your local area network environment. It's got so many security features built into it. I don't have time to go into all of them today, but we do have a dedicated webinar on this product. So if you are interested in learning a little bit more about the many capabilities of this device, then this would be a good way. That would be a good way to learn that stuff.
We've got another pair that's doing the site-to-site VPN tunnel. This one's acting as our main firewall.
Okay.
El Rio VPN. What is it? El Rio VPN Gateway. Yeah.
Have a look at that one. Yep, so there we go. We can see the site-to-site VPN here. The configuration of this is incredibly straightforward. If any of you are engineers, you've done a site-to-site VPN, you'll know that this is traditionally quite a painful experience. With Meraki, we really couldn't make it any easier than this. You simply set up your VPN, you decide what type of topology you want to have, and then you can go in and choose which of your subnets you want to share with other locations. So we can see there's quite a lot of subnets here, and we can see that some of those have been selected to be included in that VPN connection. Scrolling to the bottom of the screen, I can see that we can also connect to non-Meraki VPN peers, so it doesn't always have to be Meraki to Meraki. So we do have here a couple of devices that we are connecting to using the traditional approach. And you've got plenty of options here if you want to go in and play with the different security settings. If you really are wanting to get into that level of detail, then all of the options are there. But connecting Meraki to Meraki, you can literally set that up within about 30 seconds or so. It's incredibly efficient. Okay, I'm going to move back to the slides now because we're rapidly running out of time. So let's get things wrapped up, and then we'll open the floor up for a couple of questions. So the product families from Cisco Meraki, obviously we've talked about a lot of this. So wireless access points, we've got 6 models, indoor and outdoor APs. They also incorporate the very latest standards, so 82.11 AC access points now starting to roll out quite extensively. And these do have a lot of capability built into them. We have a lot of customers who really only buy the Wi-Fi from Meraki because there's so much potential there, and perhaps they've already got an implementation of somebody else's switches, and so they can just tag those straight on. You don't need to have a 100% Meraki network. Of course, we think that you're going to have a great experience if you do, because you've got all of that management simplicity in the single pane of glass then. So the security appliances, there are 6 models of those as well, plus the little Z1 that we talked about, which is perfect for the kind of deployment El Rio has done with multiple teleworkers connecting into a headquarters site. And there are so many features in this box, we just don't have time to go through it all today. But we call this a security appliance rather than a firewall, because really the firewall is just one of the features, security features built into this appliance. And then we've got a range of about 14 different switches, very extensive range there, from 8 ports right the way up to 48 port aggregation switches with 48 SFP ports. So really very, very broad coverage there, and some great features like the cable testing that I showed you and the ability to do a packet capture from the comfort of your armchair if you so choose. And then last but not least, we have the Cisco Meraki mobile device management. So this is comprehensive support for the endpoints in your network, your desktop computers and your smartphones and tablets. You can manage all of those and set them up just the way you like. This is perfect for that MDM kind of solution. Slightly different to BYOD. BYOD is probably more easily dealt with settings in the network, which is, I think, what El Rio's done on its guest Wi-Fi network. But if you own these devices and you've given them out to you maybe want to lock those down. That's what this tool is designed to do. Now we have a comprehensive evaluation program for all of our products. So if there's anything you like the look of today, then we do encourage you to reach out to us. Use this website at the bottom of the screen here, and we will get you set up with a free trial. It's a completely risk-free trial, so you can try out the equipment. We'll send you brand new kit. We'll support you through that trial, and if you choose not to keep it, we will ship it back at our own cost. So really a completely risk-free option for you. I will just reiterate here on this slide that definitely a good idea to subscribe to our blog if you are interested in Meraki technology. We do update, and all new features are first mentioned there on the blog. That's the place to hear about these things first. It's definitely a good idea. And of course, don't forget to reach out to us to move things forward. So thank you very much for your time and attention. We have about a couple of minutes left to ask a couple of questions here. And so let's have a look at the list on here. So a question here about software management with Systems Manager. Yes, you can absolutely do that. We do have the ability to push applications out to your managed devices. And we also have support for Apple's volume purchasing program. So if you are deploying to many devices at once and you want to do this with paid applications as well as free ones, VPP is a really nice way of doing that. A question about how the tagging feature helps with management. Well, really it just enables you to group things together logically. So we saw during the presentation there and the live demo that we have a number of tags built up on these devices, and they're all of course labeled, so it's very easy to then go and search for those and then start working on the configurations of just those devices specifically. Question here about how packet captures work. So packet captures are a little bit of an exception in the architecture that we looked at earlier on. So packet capture, obviously being able to do that remotely does mean that we need to capture the traffic on the Meraki appliance itself that traffic is passing through. And the results of that packet capture are then shared via the cloud to the network administrator. So this is normally just used for troubleshooting purposes. It's not a permanent setup like a port mirror. This is just used for capturing sort of 10-15 seconds when you've got some major problem on your network and you get right down to the bits and bytes level. Okay, so we're just approaching the top of the hour now, so I think it's time to wrap things up. Gentlemen, I'd like to thank you very much indeed for your contribution today. If there are any closing comments you'd like to make about the Meraki experience?
I don't know, Todd, do you have anything?
One of the things that I really liked is the red-green color blindness, those little extra features that they like to throw on without any extra asking for it. Really helped me quite a bit being red-green colorblind.
It's fantastic. Yeah, that's a really nice little one that we added in. It's so good to hear a real-life story where it's helping somebody out. That's really cool. Thank you. All right, gentlemen, I think we will wrap things up now. So once again, I'd like to thank you all for attending today's webinar. Do reach out to us if you've got any further questions, and of course, to get yourselves your free access point. We do look forward to hearing from you very soon. So thank you very much from Kat and myself. We will wrap things up now and wish you a very enjoyable rest of your day. Bye-bye for now.